Hello, I'll be demonstrating how to make a hat using a Knifty Knitter loom. These looms are very simple to use. I knitted my first hat about 6 years ago, and these are some of my favorites. I will be showing you how to start a hat on a Knifty Knitter loom, how to add a brim to your hat, and how to complete your hat. You will need a round loom and a pick, a yarn needle, some scissors, and at least one skein of yarn. I used 2. Your first step will be to attach your yarn to your hat. Do this by first finding the end of your yarn, pulling a length away from your skein, and making a slip knot. I prefer the slip knot because after I remove it from the loom, I can real simply pull it out and it won't leave any big bumps in my hat. Slip this knot onto the horizontal peg of your loom and pull it tight. This will help keep your yarn taut as you wrap it around the pegs. And now that the yarn is secured to the loom, we can begin wrapping the pegs. Starting with the first upright peg to the right of your horizontal peg, wrap the yarn around the back and then the front of each peg. Repeat this motion on all the pegs. When each peg is covered, then we move on to the next step. Thanks to modern technology, we are there already! It is time to secure your yarn. I have found that the simplest way to secure the yarn is to make a backwards loop, like this, where you kind of fold it over and pull away from the loom. Awesome! Next, push the yarn down, basically making the shirts that were on the top of the pegs into the skirts on the bottom of the pegs. This step makes room for your next round of wrapping. When all of the shirts have magically been changed into skirts, then we unhook our backwards loop from the horizontal peg, gonna tug on it, and begin wrapping with that first peg that is to the right of the horizontal peg. Something I didn't mention earlier that you should keep in mind: while you are wrapping the pegs, try to keep some pressure on the loops as you are wrapping so they don't come undone. And now that we've completed our second circuit of the loom, we can secure our yarn and begin knitting cool beans. So pick up your pick, and using the grooves that are in the fronts of the pegs, shown here, slide the pick under the bottom loop, like this, and slightly pull away and bring it up and over the top loop and the top of the peg. You will repeat this pulling away and up and over motion for each peg as you travel around your loom. When you have completed your whole circuit and you are back to your starting point, then you will repeat the pushing the shirts down into skirts and rewrapping each peg, again creating a second row so you can again knit. I know these repetitive motions may seem like they get boring, but because they're so repetitive, it's really easy to get fast. And I am definitely convinced that using these Knifty Knitter looms is faster and simpler than knitting using knitting needles. Repeat the previous steps until you have a length of knitted material twice that of what you want your brim to be, and remove your working yarn from the horizontal peg so that you can access your slip knot and take it off the peg, and see how easy that is to pull out. Now there will be no knot in my brim. Yay! Now that our beginning knot is removed from the peg, return your working yarn to the horizontal peg and find the first loop, which will be directly to the right of your starting fuzzies. Bring this loop up and hook it over that first peg that you first wrapped. Tuck your fuzzy starting yarn into the crease between where you are hooking your loops onto the tops of the pegs and where the other part is secure below. And the fuzzy yarn will be hidden forever and will never ever be seen again. So for each loop, you pull it over, hook it onto the pegs, and move on to the one directly to the left. This process creates a brim that will be twice the thickness of the rest of your hat, which is great for keeping your ears warm. When you have completed that step, then you are ready to knit over your bottom loops once more. And when that is done, like so, you just repeat the steps of pushing the shirts down into skirts, rewrapping your pegs, and pulling the bottom loop up and over the top one until you have knitted a hat. You can test out the length of your hat by putting it on your head. Since I made a small hat, I had a small person try it on. Now then, know for sure that the hat is my desired length. I make sure the row of loops on the pegs is towards the bottom so that I can more easily collect them with my needle and finishing yarn. Take your scissors and cut your yarn, removing your hat from the rest of the skein. Snip, snip. Then, with a length of yarn that is about 5 times around my hand, but probably roughly 18 inches, I will wrap it over the needle so I get a really small, pinchy little bit, and squeeze it up through the eye, like so. Then when it is through a tiny bit, I tug it with my nails the rest of the way. Ta-da! Yarn through a tiny needle. Okay, then we pick up the loops on the pegs by going under and up through each loop so that the yarn that is on the needle essentially collects each loop, holding them all together while they're off the pegs. It's easier to see how this works once a majority of loops have been taken off the pegs, like this. You can see how the string is keeping the hat from unraveling, but also removing it from the loom. So the last step, while the hat is connected to the loom, basically, okay, there's no last step. You pull it off there and then you remove the needle from this thread you were using to collect your loops. And then you remove your knitting yarn from your horizontal peg. Take the loom away, put it aside, and then you're going to turn your hat inside out. Collect all your loose ends and make sure those get transferred onto the inside of your hat, which will be the outside here in a second, like this, so that as you tie it, you don't have strings poking out the top and the bottom and the inside and the outside and all crazy all over the place. Grab hold of the ends of the yarn that you threaded through the hat and scrunch the loops all together at the base, kind of like this. And you're going to pull them as tight as you can, and then we're going to double knot this. So, one knot, pull it super tight after you have this excess out of the way, like tight like this, really tight, okay? Then we do our other knot to make a double knot, yes. Oh yeah, okay, awesome. Now, to make just like a security thing, for me, I like to tie the fuzzy ends in a double knot also with one of the loop collecting strings. This just makes me feel like my hat won't unravel off the top of my head as I'm wearing it. Now we can trim off all our excess string with our lovely scissors and discard this because we don't have any use for it anymore. So discard that. Now we turn our hat right side out. And guess what? We're finished! Ta-da! Lovely fuzzy hat. Very soft, very cozy. Great gift for people. To review real quick, I showed you how to start a hat on a Knifty Knitter loom, how to add a brim, and how to complete it. Thank you very much for watching this. I hope you enjoy your day.